দেওয়া পসিবল না, কিছু কিছু আমি জানিও না। যাই হোক, যেমন মধ্যযুগে আসলে আন্দোলন বলে কোনো টার্ম ছিল কিনা আমার এই ধারণাটা নাই, সো আমি সিরিয়াসলি জানি না। আন্দোলন খুবই মডার্ন একটা টার্ম, মুভমেন্ট। আর এবং তাও শুধুমাত্র মডার্ন না, এটা হচ্ছে যে সরাসরি ইন্ডাস্ট্রিয়াল রেভলিউশন পরবর্তী সময়ে যে মডার্ন পলিটিক্যাল স্ট্রাকচার আমরা দেখছি, সেই স্ট্রাকচারের একটা অংশ হচ্ছে যে আমরা বর্তমানে যে মুভমেন্টগুলো বলি এবং এর ন্যাচারগুলো বলি। আমি শুরু থেকে আসি, সাবিদিন ভাই যে প্রশ্নগুলো করছেন। আচ্ছা, বাই দ্য ওয়ে, যদি আপনারা কিছু মনে না করেন, আমাদের মধ্যে একজন ফরেনার আছে, এবং ইট কুড বি বেটার ইফ ইউ স্পিক ইন ইংলিশ, যেহেতু আমার অংশটা, সো আই উড লাইক টু ডেলিভার মাই আনসার ইন ইংলিশ টু রেসপেক্ট মাই ফরেনার ফ্রেন্ড। Okay, so as Avadin asked me that what is the cultural theory going on, I think that this is one of the most important questions. Look, when in cultural theory ground, there is a two sections. One is from old social movement and one is from new social movement. So one group used to call that old social movement are anti-structural, are are repressive to structure, radical, and these are the divergent result of industrial revolution and the modernity. But on the other hand, new social movement is much more social, less violent, more constructive, rather challenging. So this debate is there, and interestingly there is a huge controversy also regarding these two terms, new social movement and old social movement. Like the mostly Marxist and post-Marxist scholar like Della Porta or Alain Legard or Suisse Levin, Italian and the French scholars, they are in favor of not doing a difference in old social movement and new social movement. Rather, they prefer a continuation of movement which changes and evolves based on the context and time and need. On the other hand, Alan Turing, he is one of the most prominent supporter of this movement. Even in just before 9/11, there was a interview that was published in New York Times, date 8/11. The one day before that day, he was talking about this new social movement and old social movement, and he was predicting that, look, I mean, the world is already changed and we don't need any old social movement. Old social movement is past, all is new social movement. And 9/11 changed everything. So old social movement are now evolving in a very different perspectives. And for the Indian context, I should say that India has a very different context in that case. I am not a specialist in Indian context, but because I am working on Aam Aadmi Party and anti-corruption movement, so I can get an example from anti-corruption movement. Look, you will find all kind of symbolism there, religiously motivated symbol that Baba Ramdev presented in Ramlila Maidan, or you will find secular section also in that movement, which was led by Yogendra Yadav, Prashant Bhushan and others also. So if you look to the Indian movement or Indian social movement, you will find that there is a radical group, those who are motivated by the nationalism, radicalism and Hindutva. And on the other hand, there is another group, those who believe in the universal human rights and states' responsibility towards its citizen, and much more humanitarian way. But debate is still there. Okay, the second question that I would like to answer, Tanvir Ahmed. So, if government didn't agree with the demands of the student, that what could happen? Yeah, I mean, no one knows now what could happen, because this is a very hypothetical question, and I think that in hypothetical question you can only have hypothetical answer, but my structure that I developed is much more theoretical and practical. So it would be better not to answer that, but I think that government is not something which always work like a mad blind man. Okay, so the Machiavellian prince era has gone. So whatever repressive state, it's changed its nature, it evolves within the structure. So it's not like that maybe they will use they could have used their force to stop that movement. They did that. They used political force through their student wings. They used their state power through police mechanism also. But at the end also, a group of people within the government also supported that movement. So it's not like government is a monolithic group of people and they always say only one thing. There is always fraction within the government also. So government is not mathematical things. It is a combination of people, individuals, and they have their understanding regarding issues. So rather I would not be optimistic. Much more I am hopeful that yeah, government did that, and most of the cases government can't deny citizen rights issues. And if you look to the this citizen rights movement of USA, where black people are fighting for their rights, there was a slogan that we shall overcome. So I mean, if you even take that concept, that these overcome is not merely the obstacles given by the state, but it's much more overcoming our own arrogance. So the movement was much more about your own consciousness. What government will do, it's up to them, but whether are you conscious to accept that or to challenge that. Okay, then another question that you also have, that so what is the most important thing? So whether the honesty of system or whether the individual's honesty which run the state. Look, there is a huge debate in political science, social science, even in law area. There is a book called how colonized reacted to colonialism. So this book was talking about Tagore, Jamaluddin Afghani, and one of the Sihanouk, another scholar. So these three people, those who are the people who at the same time challenge the modernity and colonialism, and at the same time are talking for the system for their own country. So in that debate, the question of individual honesty and system is coming. So the basic argument that even I also adore that argument, that individual has all chance to do fault as system also, but system is something which compact of two things. One is responsibility and accountability. So in individual level, there is always clash between responsibility and accountability. But system is something apart, separated from emotion, rather emphasize on accountability and also responsibility. So if you need a better country, if you need a better functional system, you need to combine these two things, responsibility and also accountability. And for that, individual can play a very good role. Honest individual can play much more role. You can't expect honest people all over the country, but you can expect more and better system in the country. Another question that come from Pranto. So which movement is not social movement? And the anti-question, as Alan Turing also asked, that which movement is not political movement? So can we really different political movement and social movement? This is the most complicated area in the social movement studies. That okay, because I just give you an example that this anti-corruption movement of India, and they formed a political party. So a group of people are saying that this is a social movement. Yagandhra Yadav is saying, and others saying that no, this is not only a social movement. Political idioms are there also. So you can't separate them. The thing is that yeah, of course, politics will be there, social responsibility and phenomena will be there. It's really difficult to say which is social and political, but it depends on the goal. As I mentioned in my earlier speech, that goal defines the nature of the movement, exactly what you are expecting. Politics will be always there, as Gramsci was also saying that you can't separate people from revolution as people from politics. So this is the inherent part of the individual character and also social character. So in that context, I think that there are political phenomena also present in that movement, like Bhat Divona Gulikor. You can interpret this slogan as a political slogan. You can interpret this slogan as a heroic romantic slogan also, that gladiators are fighting in the road and giving slogan like that. So in that case, I would like to take a middle position, that the goal of this movement was not political establishment, was not to challenge the political establishment, or was not to take power from the political establishment, rather to question the political establishment, to ensure the citizen rights, because that is also a part of political economy, at the same time a part of citizen rights also. So these parties covering that. Another question is the uh, how cultural movement is different from social movement. I think, look, I don't find any difference between cultural movement and social movements, because all these are intermingling phenomena and it's staying together in a same bucket. So how you are going to different that? Because the song that were sang in those movements, they're the part of culture. But at the same time, the movement was focusing on the issue which is related to the political economy and its structure. And the movement was situated in the society. So it's social, political and cultural, but the goal is much more, uh, not against a state, rather to create a responsibility in the state affairs. I think the last question, which Abu Sufyan that you asked me, that political economy was missing from my speech. Yeah, you are right, because I was not focusing on the political economy. I was focusing on the social context of the movement. So I already fixed my area that this is the larger context methodologically, and in this larger context I would like to look to a very small portion of that movement, which is social part. But I agree with you, but at the same time I should say that a state which was giving nearly double budget to military, but not able to give only half budget to its education. A state which was spending nearly $20 million to buy F-26, F-8, F-9 Jade trainer from Russia, but not giving that money to establish a university. So don't you think that there is a contradiction, that your state is saying that we need money to do development, at the same time he is saying that, okay, I will give chance to the member of the parliament to get car without giving any VATs. So if you look very closely, you will find these divergent rules within the society. So how you are going to address that? And the last thing that I should come to Pranto. You also, you are expecting something from me, maybe you didn't get that, and I am keeping it as a compliment, seriously. Yeah, I am coming in your question again, because I think that I should sum up by giving answer of that question. That you asked me that which social movement is not social movement, rather which political movement is not political movement. Look, brother, the thing is that we are not sitting in a chemistry lab where virus are different, separate from other virus. We are living in a society where a rapist lived with a subject that he raped. We are living in a society where a state which sucks our blood, living with the blood sucker also. And as as I earlier mentioned that God sent its child in a suicide mission, it seems that state sent its aperture to a killing mission. And now how you are going to deal with that mission? So either you have to develop political weapons, either you have to develop social weapons or cultural weapons. It can be anywhere. Anyhow you can develop that. And the last thing that I would like to quote: only those people experience the sufferings, they can think about the sufferings, they can explain about the sufferings. As Ambedkar said, that only Dalit can write about Dalit, because he only experienced the subjections of Dalit people within the society. At the same time, the person, those who are supposed to give that VAT and experience that sadness in their father face, they can understand how social, how political, economical the movement was. So I also respect that things, but you are right that this is very complicated to separate from social to political. But at the same time, if you focus on the goal, it gives us a space to create a separation, to understand that. But at the same time, I should say that this separation is also a politics of separation. Thank you.